Hello everybody, today I'll be showing you how to make a simple floor plan for one-to-one recreations in Planet Coaster. If you don't know what a floor plan is, it is a grid of billboards laid out in Planet Coaster showing an aerial view of Google Maps at one-to-one scale, which allows you to create accurate recreations. If you get stuck on any part of this tutorial, I have added timestamps in the description of the video to help you. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is locate the attraction you want to recreate on Google Maps. Here I have Stealth at Thorpe Park. Next you need to make sure the scale ruler in the bottom right is set to 20 meters. Usually the smallest scale that Google Maps allows for is 20 meters, but if you're able to zoom in more than 20 meters, click on the 3D Guide button to lock it at 20 meters. If it is set to 10 or anything lower than 20, zoom out and zoom back in again and it will be stuck at 20. In addition to this, you will need to turn off map labels as these will get in our way when we go to use our floor plan later. You can do this by clicking on the menu and then clicking on labels on. This will turn them off. Next we have to open the snipping tool, which can be found by searching for it in the start menu or by pressing the Windows key on your keyboard and typing in snipping tool. Now we can take a picture of the map and make sure you include the scale ruler at the bottom as it will be used later. Save this to your files. The next step is to open Photoshop. Now if you don't have Photoshop, you can head over to Photopea.com, which is a free online version of Photoshop, and I'll be using this for this tutorial. I'll put a link to this website in the description. Import your image just by simply dragging it into Photopea. Now we need to draw a perfect square over the scale ruler. To do this, click on the rectangle option in Photopea and head over to the scale ruler. Perfectly align your cursor with the edge of the scale ruler and start to click and drag a square. Make sure you hold shift to get a perfect square and drag it to the end of the scale ruler. Now we have a perfect square. Now that we have our square, we need to transform this to the size of a 32 meter billboard in Planet Coaster. To do this, head over to the Edit tab, go to Transform and click Scale. Now you can see that we have the scale options up the top. To get the correct scale, we need to change the width, which is currently at 100% to 160%, and the height to 90. You can now click the confirm button at the end. After doing that, you should be left with a shape that looks like this. Now the square is the size of a 32 meter billboard in Planet Coaster, and we can now start laying out our grid of images. To do this, we need to have rulers on. Currently my rulers are turned off, so to turn them on, click on View and click Rulers. Now if you hover over one of the rulers, you can now click and drag out a ruler line. We need to create a cross section of where we want our floor plan to start. Now we can drag our shape over to the corner. It will snap to this grid, and now we need to drag out our ruler lines to the end of the shape and move over the shape, continuing to make ruler lines until you have reached the end of your floor plan. Do the same but going down. With your complete grid, you can now move your rectangle out of the way as it is no longer needed. Now we need to turn our grid into individual images. To do this, go over to the crop tool, hold down and click on the slice tool. To slice out each image, all you need to do is trace out each rectangle in our grid. If you make a mistake just like I've done here, you can always press Ctrl Z to get rid of it, and you are now able to redo it. Do this for each slice. Once all of your slices have been made, we are now ready to export our images. Click on the File tab, click Export As, and select PNG. Make sure you have the Add Slices option checked and click Save. This will now give you a zip folder of all of our images. Open your zip folder and extract the images by clicking Extract All. Now that you have extracted your images, you can now see that there are 4 images that don't have a uniform size. These are the ones we did not include in the grid, and these can be removed. We now have our grid of images. To make it easier to import these into the game and lay out them on our grid, press Ctrl A and then hover over your first image, press F2 to rename it, and then rename this to just whatever you want. Once you press enter, it will rename all of them in the correct order. These images can now be moved into our UserMedia folder for Planet Coaster. Once you have done that, you can now open Planet Coaster. Now that we are in Planet Coaster, we can start to lay out our grid. Go into the Scenery tab and locate a 32-meter billboard. Place your first billboard and locate your first image. Start to make a grid with your billboards. As you can see, these do not line up, which means that it must be on the opposite side. It is important to do this as you may lay out your grid of billboards and realise that they are all upside down, so this just gives us an idea of which way the billboard will be facing. Once you have your floor plan laid out, you can now start to make your recreation. If you found this video helpful, please let me know in the comments and expect some more tutorials coming from me soon. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.